Welcome to the Advancement Podcast. Our mission is to reach the lost in America by advancing leaders and churches so that communities are transformed. Join us as we discuss how to stay healthy as leaders, work in teams, and lead change. Come on, let's advance together.
Hello and welcome back to the Advancement Podcast. We're so excited that you have joined with us today. Hey, if you like the podcast, if you could go and leave us some comments or share with your friends or wherever you're listening, whether it be Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. Let me start over. I can do better than that. It's the first one of the day.
Yeah, we hope that eventually Tim's got another TV we're going to put over there where we can put a telephone.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You can't drink during because you're going to hear you go. Just so you know. All right. Here we go. Hello and welcome back to the Advancement Podcast. We're so excited that you have joined with us today. Hey, if you enjoyed this content, if you could go leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, it helps us spread the word and get the word out about advancement everywhere. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, if you could go subscribe or like the Advancement page, and you can get further content. That way it's delivered straight to you, and it helps us advance the mission of God and advance the mission of advancement. My name is Todd Barham, here with my co-host and friend, Tim Ware. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm a co-host today, huh?
Well, I don't know. I was going to call you host, but it didn't really sound good.
You're the host.
Okay. Well,
anyway, but hey, it's cool today. We've got a partnership with the Crossing Place in Granbury.
Got the new digs.
And so we've got I've been doing some things here. I've been doing some during the COVID thing, I've been using this their internet and things like that because it was more stable than what we have in my house. Out in the country. But the cool thing is there's just been some changes. So we've actually built a studio, or we're in the process. It's not completely finished, but today's the first day recording in what would be the studio.
Got a home base. So that's pretty cool.
Got
more Christmas music in the coffee shops.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So that's cool. It's just exciting. I want to say, just want to make sure we say thank you to Pastor Tim Petty and the Crossing Place for their belief in what we're doing. And so it's exciting to be here. And woohoo, here we go.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we survived quarantine. By the time this comes out, most of us will be coming back to some kind of semblance of normalcy.
I would be careful saying most of us. I think there's some. There are churches that are reopening. There are some that have reopened. They're reopening at different levels. But there is certainly a return in those things, and which is exciting.
We got to eat at a restaurant.
That's right. That's right.
We get to eat at restaurants. I've now eaten at 2 restaurants.
Well, look at there. That's so good.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But whether you're coming out of quarantine or you're still in quarantine, you've got to do what you think is best for you. I think sometimes us pastors, we second guess ourselves. So what would you say to a pastor that's second guessing maybe their decisions of whether they go back, whether they stay? What would you say in a quick moment?
The reality is this is all a walk of faith. We're trusting that God is leading us, and you don't always, the thing about walking in faith is you don't always know if this is what the Lord said until you're further down the road. So don't second guess. If this is what you feel like the Lord said, then move forward in humility and in confidence.
Sure.
Knowing this is what we feel. And I think the language is, this is what we feel like what the Lord is asking us to do. And so we're going to move forward just like that. We might have missed some of it. We might not have done all this right, but we're doing our best. I mean, that the rawness, the authenticity, and the faith is where God seems to have there seems to be a blessing that comes with that step of faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it's not a step of arrogance, I just need to
Sure.
get back in the pulpit to preach.
Sure. Well, and I think we also have to understand that we have to make the decisions for us and not put out the arrogance, like you said,
Yeah.
towards other churches, and understand that everybody's walk back in this is going to be different.
Yeah.
And we can't think ours is better than anybody else.
No, but I think it's a great, this part of the conversation we've already had today is a great setup for the topic that we've got for now, and that's the idea of tension.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, this is a tension moment.
Right.
There's tension in pastor's heart, tension with the some tension in the board's heart and the staff's heart. There's going to be tension for those that think you should go back.
Right.
There's tension for those that think you shouldn't go back. I mean, there's tension with society. There's going to be a lot of tension.
Yeah. So leadership has been defined as many things. One of the things that you have said, Tim, is that leadership is about creating and managing tension.
Yeah.
Would you unpack that any more before we go into our questions?
I think that's exactly a great place to start. Because first of all, when people think about tension, one of the first things people think is that it automatically, a lot of people automatically think of conflict.
Sure.
There's tension between you and I, Todd.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's also there's tension between there's romantic tension. There's all there's tension when a seedling is breaking through the ground.
Sure.
So there's tension does not necessarily mean interpersonal or relational conflict. So I think that's the first thing we have to recognize, and that leadership really is about managing tension, because where there's no tension, where there's no tension, then we have a problem. Your wife's a nurse,
right?
And if today you go to the dentist, you go to the doctor for anything, you go all over the place. They're taking your blood pressure.
Yeah.
High blood pressure,
a lot of tension,
hypertension.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But if
it stresses our body.
But if there's not enough tension, it's also dangerous.
Yeah.
So this is really, I mean, we've got to learn how to, leadership is about learning how to manage the tension so that we have enough to keep us moving forward in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And not so much that we blow everybody up. The other thing that's interesting about tension, though, is when you go to the gym, now you do jiu-jitsu. So you don't go to the traditional gym like you once did. But when you have a trainer who's in the gym working with you, you're doing CrossFit or whatever like that, then these guys are going to do what? Yeah. They want to increase your heart rate. They're going to put tension on you. When you're doing push-ups or whatever, it's increasing tension for a short term.
Right.
So there's growth. So, managing tension is about pushing the tension and then knowing when to let it off. Don't let it off too much.
Yeah.
But that's why I say leadership is about tension, because I have to create enough tension in my team. In a church, I have to create enough tension in the congregation, and even leading myself, I have to. So leadership, I think one of the secrets of leadership is managing tension.
Okay. So why is it that we avoid tension at all costs? I mean, you even used the gym illustration. I mean, some of us avoid the gym at all costs. Some of us avoid, eating healthy, avoid the doctor. I mean, even the illustrations that you use, a lot of us avoid those things because there are tension points. So why is it something that we avoid? Well,
I think first of all, because there is a confusion that tension is conflict.
Right.
And in society, we tend to have a cry for peace over tension. We wait until we explode.
Yeah.
So we don't manage the tension well. So I think that's one reason that people do it. And the other thing is because tension is associated. I think another thing is that tension is associated with stress. Okay. And we've been told stress is bad.
Right.
Stress leads to heart attacks.
Right.
True. But
not all stress is bad.
Not all stress is bad. Yeah. If you in construction, we pre-stress stuff.
Right.
Because that means that keeps it from breaking as much. I think this idea of why do we avoid the gym is because, sometimes, here's the reality. Tension always brings a level of discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think that people want to, why would I put myself in a position to be uncomfortable?
Right.
Why would I do that? It's kind of funny because you have people, they love scary movies. They love to be scared, but
that's tension.
It is tension.
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, and then you have those extreme sports junkies.
Oh, absolutely.
That love tension and live in the danger and fear of constantly, one step this way and I could die.
Well, I think that we're all comfortable with certain amounts of tension in one place and not in another. So the person who's overweight and knows if they go to the doctor, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, there's all these tension points.
Yeah.
They would rather just live with the tension of knowing that they're unhealthy.
Yeah.
They've decided that tension they can handle. They don't want to face the tension, the tension that would cause them to change in that area.
Right.
So I think,
tension makes them uncomfortable. They have to change bad habits.
Well, we all have to choose what tension we're willing to live with.
Okay.
And I think, again, sometimes in leadership, it's me saying, okay, you're not comfortable with that, but we have to go there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So because you talked about healthy tension.
Yes.
And that's really what we want to focus on in this episode is healthy tension.
Correct.
What does healthy tension do for us or for our organization?
Healthy tension is, I say healthy tension does 6 things. We might get to all of them in this podcast because of time.
Yeah.
We may have to roll over into the next one. But the first thing that we recognize that tension does is it holds things together.
Okay.
Think about a rubber band. A limp rubber band is kind of useless.
Right.
But when it's working, it holds things together. And in your church, tension has a bonding factor.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the tension of vision.
Okay.
Vision is always, good vision should always create tension. And your church is called Hope Church.
Right.
And y'all's statement is that y'all tell everybody is that you love people.
Love God, love people.
Love God, love people. There's some tension around that.
Sure.
Because if we're going to love people,
that means we have to put up with a lot of different things.
I had to put we've got a free food pantry. You guys have a free food pantry out front. And some people think that's cool. But there are some people in your church who are saying, yeah, and then there are people who drive by who don't need it and they get it and they have this tension in their heart.
Sure.
And you probably heard that complaint, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. And my response to that is, well, it's just up to us to be obedient to provide a place. It's on them if they're abusing it.
Right. But there was tension
sure.
that rose in someone's heart. But the greater tension that you pull back to is that there are people in need.
Right.
So that tension over the tension of there are people who need this overrides the tension with the people that abuse the system.
Right.
So tension, it pulls things together, which really sets up the second thing that tension does. It brings alignment.
Okay.
I know this, the circus has kind of gone away nowadays. We used to, when I was growing up,
animal cruelty thing,
Yeah, well, but the acrobats and stuff are cool.
Sure. Yeah,
so
that's cool.
If when you think about the person that walks,
which is funny, we can risk humans, but not animals.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
There's tension there, it seems.
They haven't been to some of the churches I've been to. They're kind of like a circus.
Well, that's true. Yes.
I told one pastor one time, I think the theme song for your church should be da 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 da. I put tension in his heart.
Stop telling all my stories. Okay.
No. So that was not you. Could be, maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
he hadn't been in a while, so neither have we. So
That's right. But tension brings alignment. Think about the high line wire.
Yeah.
The high wire walker in a circus. That if a rope or cable or whatever is just thrown on the ground, it can be in a coil, but as it becomes taut, it gets straight.
Yeah.
There's an aligning piece that goes on with the tension. And now you pull it too much, it'll break. But if you don't pull it enough, it ends up in this floppy mess.
Right.
And it's much harder to work. These guys that walk these slack ropes nowadays, it's much harder to walk a slack rope than it is a tight rope.
Right.
And so tension brings alignment. So let's go back to the illustration of you guys having this free food pantry. This is the tension around that is pulling people, not just keeping them together, but it's pulling them into alignment with the mission that you guys have spoken over your church, that we're going to love people and we're going to love God by loving people.
Right.
So this is a tension piece. So it brings alignment. I think that's one of the things that people don't recognize about strong vision, is that vision should create a tension that pulls all the proliferatory stuff and pulls it all together to focus into this one place.
Right. Yeah. And back to the food pantry, one of those things that we've kind of helped people understand is it's not always up to us to have all the answers for everything. It's just up to us to be obedient. And I think even in an obedience, it provides tension for people because they like to be in control of everything. And I don't think it's good for us to be in control. So,
well, but here again, that's that point of alignment.
Yeah.
That you have to, that the tension that is a leader creating tension, it has to pull people away from their desires into alignment with the larger thing, with the large organization. Some people can't stand that tension,
right,
and they'll be rebellious. They'll leave these different things. But those that can stand the tension of will move into that place of alignment.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, this whole COVID-19 thing has helped from the tension surrounding the food pantry, because they've found that there are way more people in need of food than they ever thought before.
Yeah. The next one is the key to movement.
Okay.
The next one is that the tension is the key to movement.
Okay.
That in a automobile or an old rubber band plane or whatever that you play with as a kid, where tension always leads to friction.
Yeah.
Oh, hate that. Actually, when you pull, when you're pulling a cable or a rope tight, that tension actually there will be a little heating that goes on there. So because of friction, and where there's no friction, there's no movement.
Right.
Tires are creating friction. That's why they leave rubber on the road, even when they're not being peeled out, like it's probably what you do coming out of the parking lot all the time. But
don't tell my wife.
So
let's take a moment and hear a word about advancement.
Do you feel like your church is stuck in a rut? Then we've got the answer for you here at Advancement. Do you need some personal coaching or maybe some leadership coaching? We can help you out. Contact the Advancement team at info@advancement.cc or check out the website at advancement.cc.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
Where there's no tension, there's no friction. And where there's no friction, there's no movement. And I think sometimes that is the piece that's one of the great challenges. That's where people begin to sense the conflict component that goes with tension, is because there's friction, and we don't want to experience the friction in relationships. We don't want to deal with that piece, that I'm going to use the word, that grinding that takes place. But if that's not there, then we're not moving. So let's, not using your food pantry, let's, in an individual, in me, if God's asking me to do something, there's going to be a tension. There's going to be friction because I don't want to, and I'm going to feel the grind as I make a change in my own life. Whether
most people don't like change.
No,
and that's that's where tension comes in. We're constantly asking our people to grow and change and shape, and the pushback comes when they don't want to change. They just want to be comfortable.
Well, I'm actually writing right now, and I'm writing on that very subject of change and the fact that Romans 12 tells us that it's God's mission is to change us. I mean,
Right.
we see that. So this piece that we need levels of friction. Now, just again, too much tension creates too much friction, and will to use our automobile analogy, we'll spin the tires and we'll leave black marks.
Right.
We probably have burned off. We've done too much.
Too much.
We've done too much. Now,
We've hurt the life of our tires.
Well, or we've hurt the life of somebody.
Right.
There is of course, if I'm in soft ground, sometimes I need to increase to get movement. So leadership, if we're creating tension and we're not getting movement, then what does that tell me?
That I don't know. So maybe
I probably need more tension.
Yeah.
So we haven't got enough friction to create movement. Whether it's the idea of, if you don't push the gas hard enough on your car going up, if you're on an incline, it takes more tension to push a car uphill from a stop than on flat ground.
So what you're saying is, if we're not getting movement, maybe we need to push the gas a little harder.
Yeah.
Now, a little harder. So we don't peel out.
Right. We don't want to peel out. Now, there are some times where you go, okay, you don't want to hold the tension in that illustration. What if I still don't move? Well, there may be something else.
Right.
Since we're using automobiles in this, if you hook a truck, if you're trying to pull something with your truck or your car, and you give it, and it doesn't move, it doesn't do you any good to sit there and keep going. Right. Eventually, I have to say, okay, something's got to give. Something else is a problem. It's not here. So sometimes if you apply the tension and you don't get movement, then you have to ask the question: is it more tension, or is there something there's something holding us back that I haven't seen? Is there another thing in play?
Yeah.
All right.
So we're talking about what healthy tension do.
Right.
So the first thing is it holds us together.
Yep.
Second, brings alignment.
Yep.
Third is the key to movement. And the fourth is
that it increases celebration.
Okay. We don't celebrate well.
We don't most in churches, most of the time don't celebrate
and
well.
It's I'm speaking to myself here. I mean, I'm so goal oriented. Sometimes I don't want to slow down long enough to celebrate anything. I just want to go on to the next thing.
Yeah, because once you finish this, there's always something out ahead.
There's always something to do.
There's always something else. There's two extremes. There's the people who there's always something to do, or there's that comes with that high visionary piece that's in your personality. Yeah. And then the other side of that is the high manager piece, because you're not afraid of tension or creating tension. High vision people do that.
I live in tension, man.
Well, we could say that the higher your natural leadership acumen, the more you thrive in tension. The higher your management acumen, the more you want to eliminate tension. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you can't lead well with a managerial personality. It just means that, because the guy who's the high leadership acumen, he has to learn to manage.
Right.
So there's a balance that has to happen here. So there's this one guy likes to create tension, one guy likes to eliminate tension.
Sure.
But and neither one of those guys celebrate very well, because one skips ahead. I'm always, I'm going to celebrate the next thing, but by the time you get to the next thing, you're already looking at the next thing. So you're waiting for the next. So it's yay, but that's, you don't celebrate. Then there's the next group. The other end of the spectrum is we're not celebrating anything because let's not get too excited.
Yeah.
Let's not get too excited.
Yeah.
The best football games, one of the best Super Bowls in the ones in recent memory, this last one was not, I don't think it was not memorable at all.
Except for the last half of the fourth quarter. when they came back.
Because
Otherwise,
there was
pretty
it was
bad game.
close.
Yeah.
Because there was tension.
Yeah.
Because now there was a question mark. I think of the game.
And unless your team's in the Super Bowl, you want tension in the game.
That's right.
Because otherwise it's no fun to watch. Nobody likes unless we're rooting for the team that is running someone out of the stadium, we don't like to watch those games.
Nobody wants to. We always want it close. You want it to come down to the wire,
right?
Because it does. Even if you lose, if your team loses and it comes down to the wire, you still celebrate. There's something powerful.
Yeah.
There's something that we go right there to the end.
Yeah.
And you just get this sense that where there's tension, there's more. The win is bigger.
Yeah.
There's more to celebrate. There's more. It's a greater. It feels better.
Yeah.
And so we have to. What we realize is if we create the right tension, it creates a natural celebration point where it's the climax moment. So, and where you don't have enough tension, then it's just flat.
Right.
Okay. And then the last thing I would say is, we'll go back to our gym analogy, is that tension actually strengthens us.
Okay.
Tension makes us stronger, because let's use that. It's cycles of tension. It's the gym. I push, then I let off. I can, as a leader, what I have to do is I have to push people right up to their limit, but I can't leave them there all the time. So I bring it off, but now I've increased their and I push it, and I eventually move their threshold.
Right.
And that's how leadership. I never
incremental advancement.
Right. I never totally remove the tension.
Okay.
Because it's not healthy to totally remove it, right?
Right.
But I push it, and then I let off to something that's within their realm of, okay, I can handle this.
Yeah.
Then I push again. I ran for my 40th birthday, I went and ran a full marathon.
Wow.
And,
what was your finishing time?
4 hours and 2 minutes.
Okay. I don't know if that's fast or slow. I don't know.
I was shooting for 4 hours.
Oh, well, you got close.
Yeah. Well, I got shin splints anyway.
Oh,
that right during my training. But here's the deal. I couldn't run 26.2 at the beginning.
Right.
Actually, as a beginner, having never done it, my training regimen never pushed me to 26.2 until race day.
Oh.
But it would do. You'd start out. Started out running 3 days a week. Then it upped it to 4 days a week. Then it was 5 days. Then it was 6 days. By the time, and it's 2 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles. Then eventually you add a speed day where you're not going to run distance, but you're going to go to the track and run 800s.
Yeah.
And the first day, you're just trying to get in 3 800s.
Yeah.
By the end, you're trying to get in 10 800s.
Okay.
It's about building it up. And so tension, if we use it correctly, will strengthen and allow your church, your team to carry more weight and do more. If you don't put tension in, then truth is, we become lackadaisical, comfortable, and in some cases there will be atrophy.
Okay. So the 5-thing healthy tension does, that for those that are trying to take notes at home, is first thing, holds it together, holds things together. Number 2, brings alignment. Number 3 is the key to our movement. 4, increases celebration.
Yes.
And 5, it strengthens us.
Yeah.
So did I miss anything?
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot more we can talk about tension. As a matter of fact, we're going to roll this into another episode.
Yeah.
But I think if a leader will go back and look at their situation right now, their team, maybe their personal, how they lead themselves. You can even see this in your relationship with your spouse, or in your church, and ask yourself, where are things falling apart?
Yeah.
Do I need more tension? What's the right tension? Where do I put the tension? Because I can put tension into a situation, but if I don't put the right tension.
Yeah.
So where are things falling apart that I need a little glue, tension to glue this thing together? Where's something they're going over there, they're going over there. it's busy and it seems healthy, but it's going different directions.
Yeah.
Where I need to pull it back. Where do I need that to strengthen the vision? Really, that's that alignment piece. And where are things just flat?
Yeah.
It's dead. It ain't moving. It ain't happening. Okay. Healthy tension goals is a good tool there. We can talk about more of the ways to do this in the next podcast. But then there, you can look if your church isn't celebrating well, if you don't celebrate well, then ask yourself. Then you can see, am I managing that tension right? And if there's a lethargy, then you probably don't have the right cycles of tension.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's good.
My question is going to be, I'm going to put tension in the room.
Okay.
We'll put some tension because you have to say, he's going to ask me that question. So what's your takeaway?
The biggest takeaway for me was you kind of use the car analogy, no friction, no movement, but you've got to have just enough friction to not have a burnout. My issue is, and anybody that is watching me or on my staff knows, sometimes I put a little bit too much gas. And so I've got to learn to find the right balance. I mean, even with my relationship with my wife at home, I have to learn how to soften the ways I say things, or, I live in tension. Tension is easy for me. So I have to learn the balance between skidding out coming out of the parking lot or on the gravel road, between just providing enough tension to have the right amount of movement that I desire. Because, ultimately we don't want to hurt people in the process, especially those closest to us.
No.
But we also want to provide movement and not allow the situation to just sit still.
I think a lot of times when you're in these moments, this is a great time to have a coach, to talk with a coach or a mentor, to have somebody who can ask you the questions and help you. It's about, sometimes you need to verbally process outside, and that's a great one of the great things that a coach does.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've done that. You and I've done that. So I think that's this is a great time. If you need a coach,
we know some people.
Yeah.
info@advancement.cc.
There you go.
Email that. We can get you hooked up and find somebody to help you get some tension to move forward in your life.
There you go.
What would you say to someone out there that thinks they can do it by themselves? They don't need a coach. They don't need someone to push them. Are there people out there that are driven enough that they don't need somebody to push them?
Well, there are people we can always achieve a certain level of success on our own.
Yeah.
It's a reality, but we're not designed to do it that way. We need moments of solitude. I mean, when you look at the scripture, there are moments where we need to pull away. Jacob had a great moment when he was alone with the Lord in this wrestling moment, but there were other moments where he wasn't supposed to be alone.
Right.
You can look at Elijah, it was a great moment at first by the river, but in the cave, that was not a great moment.
Right.
Too much. We're not designed by God to do things alone. There's Proverbs says iron sharpens iron, and it's really arrogant of me to think, well, I don't need the rest of the body of Christ, that I have enough gifts. I have enough of everything that God has. I have enough that I don't need the rest of y'all.
Right.
That's a place of arrogance.
Sure.
That's not a place of humility, and that's not pleasing to God.
Right.
So that might have been a little too strong.
No, it's all right. Well, it was a good episode.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. Right. You want to encourage them to listen to the next one?
Yep. We're going to continue this conversation in the next one. We're going to talk some more about, I guess we'll start with ways to build healthy tension. And so we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Advancement Podcast in our new studio.
The new studio edition.
The new studio edition. There you go.
See you next time.
All right.
If you would like to keep this content coming, all Tim and Todd ask is $1 per show. See how to give, maybe even sponsor an episode or series on the website advancement.cc. Until next week, continue to advance the mission of Jesus.